It is even the more helpful to society when it has been disclosed that a foundation established not just in his memory, but also in honor of his life partner, Mrs. Mary Achimogwu, will primarily focus on health, education, and empowerment. This reminds me of our own foundation, the Clemagba Foundation, established by my wife and I in 2014, in memory of my late mother, who died from complications related to hepatitis infection, which went undiagnosed for several years. Today, the Clemagba Foundation has rendered hepatitis public enlightenment campaigns, free screening and free vaccination of at-risk individuals to thousands of Nigerians. As a kind-hearted Nigerian who touched many lives while he was alive, I am not surprised that a befitting recognition is coming the way of late Chief Dr. Paul Sunday Achimogwu, as throughout his life, he remained steadfast in his benevolent and humanitarian activities, especially in the areas of touching the lives of the downtrodden, uplifting the lives of so many indigent people, and the development of rural communities. I'm very proud that the empowerment of the less privileged is part of the focus of this foundation. This resonates with the policy thrust of His Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, which is centered on lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. A while ago, while the representative of His Excellency Kwankwaso spoke, he talked about national development planning and that it has since been abandoned. And he also talked about the need for reinventing it. Yes, I agree with you that in the past it was abandoned, but one of my three main focal areas while I was made the minister responsible for planning was to first bring back our planning and then focus on our budgets and ensure that the budget cycle changes and is definite from January to December. And the third for me was reinforcement of our national monitoring and evaluation. First, we have been able to change the budget cycle. The last 3 years, it has been on time, and I believe that this year too, we are going to submit the budget proposal on time to the National Assembly so that it can also be passed for a January to December.
In the aviation industry,
the second,
I'm 76,
is the issue of,
and we started.
and I'm also glad that His Excellency has launched the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025. It is truly national because it wasn't developed by the federal government. It was developed by a diversity of Nigerians, the sub-nationals, the youths, the labor unions, the organized private sector. And this was, of course, driven by the organized private sector because we realize that when you look at the Nigerian economy today, 92% of GDP is from the private sector. So, of course, those who wear the shoes know where it pinches, so it's better that you allow them to drive the process of the plan. And that is why we had Atedo Peterside lead in the development of the current National Development Plan. A lot of sectors have been broken, not just the textile sector. And so, in the past couple of years, we've tried to push Nigeria away from over-dependence on oil and having successfully diversified the economy, no longer so dependent on oil. The vision for the plan is to unlock the opportunities in the various sectors of the economy. And of course, the CTG sector is not left out of this. Yeah, I heard a while ago when His Royal Highness also spoke, he talked about the provision of gas plants in Kaduna to power the textile industry. And that also was a failure. We recognize the importance of energy, and we also recognize the fact that Nigeria is rich and has abundant sunlight. And so, one of the ways that we intend to take power quickly to several areas is the provision of off-grid power, which the plan really speaks to. Because often, at times you find that we have problems with transmission. The way it is currently, just like in the oil industry. In the power industry, you have the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream. And we have concentrated a lot of efforts in the upstream, that in terms of power generation. And our transmission is not able to carry all that we are able to produce. And what still is the downstream, where we have the discos. They are unable to take everything that transmission can deliver. And I also see that with the cotton, textile, and garment industry. They are also in upstream, where you have the cotton production itself, midstream textile production, and then the downstream, the garment production. I am also in the garment industry. My wife runs an outfit that has been on for 30 years, and we manufacture clothes. But the problem is we are not having the materials to clothes. And of course, those textile materials are banned from coming. So there is a huge challenge. It's like that of the chicken and the egg. Which one should come first? You know, so you concentrate on the upstream, and then you have the materials to deliver, and then you don't have the downstream to work on it. I think that we need to focus and start from the downstream and build the demand, and then put a lot of attention on the midstream, and also encourage us in the upstream area. The Nigerian cotton, textile, and garment sector holds huge potentials to transforming Nigeria's economy and reviving the textile and garment industries by creating over 2 million jobs, improve internal revenue across the 3 tiers of government, and reduce billions of dollars on importation costs incurred annually on textile and apparel. This will reduce the pressure on foreign exchange and ultimately accelerate industrial development by making Nigeria a global player in the textile and apparel sectors. Late Chief Dr. Paul Achimogu's achievements in the textile industry stands very tall, and the invitation of His Excellency, the indefatigable Comrade Adams Aliyu Shomole, MNICOM, a former textile industry activist and a former president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, to deliver the very first lecture titled Repositioning the Cotton, Textile and Garment Sector as the Engine of Growth for the Nigerian Economy. It's a fitting testimony of late Chief Dr. Achimogu's life trajectory. As pregnancy is insuppressible, so is a good man. His good works, his kind and large heart, and his accomplishments. Chief Dr. Achimogu wore no air and exuded none. Indeed, he was as simple as air itself. He had a calm ambience that belied his watchers, yet the more he tried to remain unassuming by avoiding the spotlight, the more his selfless service to humanity and God became evident. These are the very reasons we are celebrating his life and legacies today. I want to say here too that I'm very willing to get my economic growth department work with the PMA think tank and the CTG group to see how we can evolve policies and what we need to do to get things going. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in order to truly immortalize late Chief Dr. Paul Sunday Achimogu, we must constantly be in the business of repositioning the cotton, textile, and garment sector to be among the sectors that contribute the most to our GDP. As you may be aware, the present administration's enforcement of Executive Order 003 on support of local content in procurement by MBAs is a clarion call to revive the Nigerian cotton, textile, and garment industry, which will in turn contribute immensely to our already diversified Nigerian economy and create jobs for our teeming population. To attain self-sufficiency in cotton production, with a view to serving the textile and garment segments of the value chain with quality inputs, our plan targets importance of the value chain of textile by the year 2025. This can be achieved and even surpassed with the cooperation of all textile industry players. I thank you all for your attention. God bless you all, and God bless the players.